everybody. My name is Chris Fellabaum. I'm a senior consultant here at Rizing with the managed service team, and we are here to discuss the H2 2021 SuccessFactors Learning release. And I am joined by...
Hi, I'm Carey Ross. I am also a senior consultant in managed services right along with Chris.
So welcome everybody. Carey and I have done this together many times, so we're old friends. And what to say about this release? Well, first of all, release time is here again. And, you know, this learning release kind of breaks ground in a few notable areas, I think. Mainly integration points with other modules or systems.
I've noticed that a lot.
Kind of my take on it. Coursehome Blended continues to evolve. PQE is going away. And customers who have native learning only users, please take note because action is needed soon. All right, jumping right in, talking about, you know, integration points with other modules or systems. I think the big ticket item in this release is the Microsoft Teams VLS integration. So this is one that people have been clamoring for. I know my customers have asked me at every turn when this one's coming. So it is a long-standing request. You know, virtual meetings are where it's at these days. And the Microsoft Teams VLS integration basically offers the same capabilities as the other existing VLS integrations, right? Which were like WebEx, Adobe Connect, Zoom. And for those not familiar with it, basically, it allows you to dynamically schedule a virtual class. It allows learners and instructors to join the session directly from Learning, so everything's under one roof. And I think the best part of this integration is it lets you set an automated completion threshold. So for example, if a learner attends 90% of the session, they automatically get credit for the class in LMS.
That's definitely nice to save a little bit of time on, you know, recording those completions after the fact.
Well, you know, so many customers are kind of using workarounds where maybe they use an ad hoc facility with the meeting URL, things like that, but that still requires maintenance and administration.
Right.
The Teams integration is a little bit unique though, in that, you know, with some of the other VLS integrations, we were able to configure it from A to Z. On customers' behalf. However, in this case, there are dependencies on a Microsoft partner. They're needed to register the MS Teams app and complete some other required tasks within the Microsoft Azure portal. So
that has to be done in line with integrating that with the LMS?
Yeah, in fact,
it's not something that's already registered.
Correct. Okay. So I think it sounds like that would be a prerequisite before we could even really break ground and set up the LMS side. So anyway, I think that's going to be, we're going to have a lot of demand for that one.
I think so too. I mean, it just kind of, you know, coming up to the times. I think Zoom for sure, you know, coming around last year was on kind of the fast track with it becoming somewhat of a household name with the pandemic, but Teams definitely is used a lot more now internally with meetings. For
better or for worse, right?
Right.
All right. The other kind of integration with another module in this case that I think is significant is the learning recommendations and assignments within what is known as SAP SuccessFactors Opportunity Marketplace, which was... What
is this?
It was a new one to me.
Yeah.
So it is a new module from SuccessFactors, and I'm going to quote verbatim here because SAP puts it better than I do. It is a central hub for all learning and development opportunities available to the user. Learning is a core source of development for employees. Opportunity Marketplace showcases a personalized view of this alongside all other available opportunities, providing clarity of options that are tied to the user's own interests and passions.
Nice.
Yeah. So Worth noting, Opportunity Marketplace has to be licensed separately. It is not included. So, speak with your salesperson regarding that. And in this release, at least, I think they're just laying the groundwork at this point, if I had to guess. Users can view learning recommendations and assignments available to them. So, any of the types of recommendations that you would see in the LMS, peer-to-peer, assignment profile based, or even machine learning based, which we don't see a lot of customers with that machine learning based integration or recommendations in place yet. And apparently they're kind of re-swizzling that on the back end to use a different platform for that.
Almost sounds like, in a way, the integration that's been there in the past with development, for development planning, but a lot better than finding the learning activities. It seems much more integrated.
It does.
With it. So I'm excited to see that.
Me too. I think there could be real synergy between the two platforms, between Learning and Opportunity Marketplace. I know I'm going to be working to learn as much more as I can about Opportunity Marketplace in the coming months. So
definitely, and like you've mentioned, just another way to have more integration points, make learning not its own thing, and really tie it in with those other modules as a whole.
So the other integration point is migration of learning competencies to the center of capabilities, right? And that's also a relatively new one to me,
right?
Center of capabilities. And for customers specifically who migrate their competencies from the job description manager over to center of capabilities, it will automatically trigger that migration in learning. So the current competency structure in learning will be updated automatically to reflect that.
Oh, that's nice.
And I know Job Profile Builder is a prerequisite for implementing center of capabilities. But I'm going to read a quote from SAP again on what is center of capabilities. In their words, it is a framework that helps you capture capabilities such as competencies, skills, work styles, work values, and other organization-defined attributes that enable people to achieve desired outcomes. So,
okay, much better way maybe to use those competencies. I know that there's some other things on the reporting side with the center of capabilities. So I think it's just going to be easier to see those and use them. Will be nice.
It's kind of in the rumor mill and has been suggested by SAP that there may be additional features made available for learning in future releases, particularly around skills.
Great.
So, the concept of having skills in LMS and being able to target or assign training based on skills versus competencies, I think would be a really interesting new paradigm for training assignment.
Absolutely.
One other integration point with other SuccessFactors modules is a series of new UI integration cards in SAP SuccessFactors Workzone. Think learning portlets. Those will be available in SuccessFactors Workzone. As you know, Carey, SAP SuccessFactors Workzone is basically the successor to JAM.
Right.
And, there were a lot of integration points with learning in JAM. So,
seeing what I've read with the Workzone, I really like the integration points that it has to learning much better than what has been there in JAM in the past. I think it just looks a lot cleaner. And more, just easy to understand, really.
And specifically, the new UI integration cards include My Learning Calendar, Required Learning, Curriculum Status, and Learning Plan. So, I think it's moving ahead that vision that we saw emerging in JAM, where you can almost have a different front end for learning, in effect.
Right. Kind of that one-stop shop type area.
So as far as native LMS features, Coursehome Blended is continuing to evolve. SuccessFactors continues to build that out. And so what is Coursehome Blended? I hear a lot of confusion on this from customers. What is the difference between Coursehome and Coursehome Blended? I think the way I would describe it, Coursehome Blended could be viewed as kind of a version 2.0 of the original Coursehome, which both offer a much more elegant user experience. But I think there's a lot of customer feedback on the original Coursehome, which is already several years old. And I think they're incorporating all of that into the Coursehome Blended, or Coursehome 2.0, if you want to call it that.
Okay.
And this release, so the last release, kind of introduced the ability to have blended item classifications in that framework. Right. And this release introduces support for just regular instructor-led item classifications. According to SAP, we will see support for the remaining item classifications added in future releases, in the next release or two. So presumably online and blended, or online and other, right? And right. I think overall, we can only assume that Coursehome Blended will eventually supersede the original kind of 1.0 once they have it fully built out.
Do you find that a lot of people are using that like 1.0 Coursehome, or maybe going to be moving to the blended?
I would say customers who are actively on the original Coursehome are in the minority, based on my own analysis. And I think a lot of customers were taking kind of a wait and see approach to that. And, I think that's still a good idea with Coursehome Blended, definitely something to turn on in your staging LMS instance or in preview and start playing around with. But I think, they'll resolve maybe some of those sticking points that kept some customers away from the original.
So probably suggested, like you said, to do that in stage, but not really any idea yet if that's going to be all of a sudden one day, hey, this is universal, we have to go to this?
Well, not as yet. I mean, they're still completely both opt-in, and you could have one, you could have both turned on. Coursehome Blended kind of supplements the feature set of Coursehome, the original Coursehome, if they're both on. But there has been no actual timeline provided by SAP for sunsetting the legacy course view, which most customers are probably still on.
Right.
So other enhancements that we see this release around Coursehome Blended is an enhanced content player, which if you're delivering blended content specifically, because there still is not support for online item classifications with the new Coursehome Blended. For items with only one content object, it'll automatically hide the navigation structure and kind of auto start it as well. So less clicks, right? And also, and I find this kind of significant, you need to turn on Coursehome Blended to get availability of assessments on the SuccessFactors mobile app. So that's been one that, some have been waiting for, to be able to deliver exams or quizzes. But in order to do that and take advantage of that, my understanding is the Coursehome Blended does need to be turned on.
That sounds like a little trick good to have in your back pocket.
All right. We also mentioned PQE, or Plateau Question Editor retirement. I think any place you see the word plateau in common use is, you're going to see a retirement party pretty soon. But it's been announced for a long time now that PQE is going away. They've been building out the assessment tool for a long time as well, and they've not only achieved parity with all the PQE features, but it really surpasses it. It's a lot nicer.
Absolutely. It's been a long time since I've had to do any work in that tool, and from what I remember, it was never easy.
It was a little finicky
to do. Yeah, formatting was difficult, and
But if you are a customer who are still actively using PQE exams or legacy exam objects, you have a very short window to kind of rebuild those in assessments and swap those out within your items. Specifically, you have until the November 19th production release for that. Already, if you look in staging or preview, those menu entries have gone away. So a none too subtle way of saying, yeah, retirement.
Well, hopefully, since this has been being announced for a long time, I mean, at least a few years, I think. Hopefully, everybody is on track and ready for that change.
I hope so. Some other features that SuccessFactors is rolling out in this release to kind of facilitate that transition is ability for the item connector to allow bulk removal of legacy PQE exams. So, I mean, if you have thousands of items that still have PQE exams in them, that would certainly help. And that builds on a feature or an enhancement to the item connector in the last release, which allowed association of assessments, quizzes, or exams with items.
Mm-hmm. That's a nice feature there to be able to do that in bulk for sure.
Hopefully not too many people are out there panicking. So
right, yeah, especially since we're on the final countdown here.
Right, let's talk about identity authentication integration for learning only users. That rolls off the tongue. Bottom line here, and again, this is something that's been announced for a very long time now. Customers who have native learning users, and specifically that means users who exist in learning only, are not in platform, and who log in directly to learning through a native URL or site, will need to take action quite soon. As you know, Carey, SAP is replacing native user sign-in and sign-in for integrated external users as well, if you're one who had adopted that, with identity authentication-based login. And customers with native users have to implement IAS within platform as a prerequisite, of course. And I know that's a prerequisite for other things. You come from an analytics world as well. So in order to get story reports, that's a must-have, right?
Right, correct.
But once IAS is implemented at the platform level, those customers will then be able to migrate native users over to use IAS authentication. From the user standpoint, the site URL or the native login URL will stay the same, but it's kind of that back-end authentication method that needs to change and will change.
Yeah, from what I understand with that, there's some pieces there for that final integration to the learning only users that will kind of come after this release to be able to see all of the integration points or where some of that configuration needs to be made.
That is exactly right. Yeah, it's currently targeted for early 2022, the availability of the identity provisioning connector for SuccessFactors Learning. I think I more recently saw a January date for availability.
I've seen on some other release information around analytics in some areas, I've seen a January 7th date. I don't know that it's specific for this, but I've seen it in a few other things that I don't know if January 7th is like a day that it's kind of that next level of this release, maybe.
Well, at least people still have the holidays, right? So
right, yeah.
Hit the ground running in January 2022. Amazing. So what is the deadline to complete this overall, right? When will support be removed completely for the current authentication method? And there's a little ambiguity out there at the moment. I know there are some active discussions within the customer community blog about this. And I truly encourage any customers who may be impacted by this to make sure that you subscribe to the customer community blog. Specifically, it's titled Learning Native Login Deprecation Begins Within First Half 2021 Release. innovation alert. So look for those keywords. Some sources indicate it'll be concurrent with the H1 2022 release, that this will not be supported at all anymore, the current method of native login authentication. Other sources I've seen in the release indicate H2 2022, but definitely sign up for that official customer blog to get the latest and greatest.
Absolutely.
And really, that's about all I had. There are some other minor features that we see in this release, some little enhancements, a little bit of gained real estate in the learning administration work area. The menu shrunk down a little bit. That was kind of a stability fix for adjusting window sizes, apparently. Some enhancements around programs. Not the ones that I wanted to see necessarily on my wish list, but some worthy ones. Ability to deep link directly to a section within a program. Ability to put programs in collections. So make sure you look at the release notes, out on the official SAP What's New viewer for LMS, because there are a lot. Certainly we've discussed the bigger ticket ones, and I think the ones that pique our interest, certainly. So
absolutely, and there could be others in there that to someone else might seem like a huge thing to them. So for sure, take a look at that What's New viewer. That's very helpful to be able to see.
Well, with that, thank you so much, Carey, for joining me again, and I'll see you in H1 2022.
All right. Always a pleasure, Chris. Thanks.
Likewise. All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.